Direct Connection is made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you. Live from Maryland Public Television, this is Direct Connection with Jeff Salkin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for Direct Connection. Should Baltimore be a sanctuary city? And what can be done about the murder-a-day start to 2017? Joining us tonight are two of the new members of the Baltimore City Council, John Bullock and Leon Pinkett. Gentlemen, thanks to both of you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Great to be here.
Lots to talk about. We want to start with a minute of just introduction. Mr. Bullock, you're a familiar face to viewers of this station in your role as a political science professor. You've been here before. And getting yourself elected to public office, you've proven your expertise now.
I like to think so. I've always wanted to marry theory with practice, and it's been a great opportunity to do so. And it's been a learning opportunity for myself and many of my students as well.
Mr. Pinkett, new to public office, but not new to city government.
Yeah, I've been around for a minute. Worked for about 20 years in local government. And so this is an opportunity, I guess, I think I had the easiest transition. I just moved floors from the second floor to the fifth, so enjoying the opportunity.
But I mentioned half of the council, more than half is new, right? What's the impact of that?
I think it's great. I mean, we have 8 new members out of a 14-member body, 15 if you count the president. So we have a majority new council. And there's just a lot of energy. I mean, we see each other in the hallway and you see so many people working on new ideas, and it's breathtaking, actually.
Yeah, there's a new perspective, with all these new council people. And I think there's a collegial, kind of atmosphere where we're looking to work together and bounce ideas off of each other.
What's your top priority this year?
My top priority is economic development. Both Councilman Bullock and myself, we represent communities that have been disinvested for so long.
You're both on the west side.
We're both in West Baltimore, and for me, it starts with economic opportunity.
I'd like to second that. I mean, one of the committees I'm proud to be chair of is Housing and Urban Affairs, and so we look at the number of vacant, abandoned houses in the city. That's a big issue, but along with that, my main focus at this point has really been around services, so making sure alleys and streets are clean, dealing with issues like dumping, because neighborhoods that have been disinvested, as Councilman Pinkett said, those are the ones that also see some of those other services that are not really there.
Let me get your perspectives on some things that are in the news. Immigration making a little bit of news lately. Sanctuary cities, Trump administration threatening to withhold some federal aid to sanctuary cities. Baltimore is technically not, describes itself as a welcoming city. Give me your thoughts on the issue.
Well, we look at local governments, and I agree that we should not be enforcing immigration at the local level. That's not really our perspective. I recognize that immigrants bring such a diversity and flavor to our city. We want to be welcoming. And I look around the country, and I see a lot of cities who are gearing up for this battle. I was very pleased to even see some colleagues and friends who were at BWI yesterday as far looking at fighting against this travel ban. So again, it's important for us to be cognizant of our role at the local level.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the sentiments of Councilman Bullock. We are a welcoming city, and we value diversity. And so, our focus is to create an environment, where we, even if you are, an immigrant, that we respect that and we create, identify resources to promote that. And even to another degree, as you talk about, police department and how police should interact with immigrants, we foster a community policing model. And to create an environment where immigrants would not be willing to come forth either as victims or as witnesses, as contrary to a community policing model.
Sure. The Trump administration is also threatening to send in the feds, I think was the phrase, in Chicago, which has a high violent crime rate. But Baltimore's violent crime rate is a multiple of Chicago's. We've had 32 homicides so far in 2017. We're not even out of January yet. Where do we go with this? And is there a role for the feds or the state or somebody in an era where the city police department is undermanned?
Well, I think one of the questions we start talking about the feds, as it were, what do you actually mean by that? Are we talking about the National Guard? What does that really look like? And from looking at from the federal government point of view, I would like to point to Baltimore City's consent decree. And so we look at the Department of Justice coming into Baltimore, identifying some fixes, the city being in negotiations, and then taking that to court. I think that's an opportunity for the federal government to be involved and to possibly provide some resources to make sure that, as Councilman Pinkett said, that community policing is something that is prominent in our city. Then we start looking at some of the things that we can do. Again, making sure that we're increasing opportunities for communities to collaborate with the police in terms of providing information. So when folks feel that they are safe and that they can trust law enforcement, they're more likely to give information and be cooperative as it relates to some of those cases.
And when you're talking about sending in the feds, we would welcome assistance and finding out how illegal guns are getting into our community. You want to send the feds to help us find out how these drugs are getting into our community. You want to send the feds, send grants to help with after-school programs and help our educational system. So we'll welcome, if that's the kind of help he's talking about, we welcome that kind of intervention.
Let me remind our viewers, if you have a question for the Baltimore City Council members, you can give us a call. We'll have the number on the screen. You can also tweet your questions. The Twitter address is @MPT News. In terms of resources, what would be the number one thing that Baltimore City doesn't have that you really need?
Well, as I said earlier, economic development is critical, and which means that we have to have the infrastructure. But for me, as a councilman, to ignore the $129 million deficit for our school system would be irresponsible. So we need resources, even as it relates to education and as it relates to our youth as well.
And honestly, we start looking at housing issues. I mean, I mentioned all the vacant houses we have. I mean, the money for rehab, for tear down. I mean, we've gotten some assistance from the governor and the CORE program, but also there are needs in terms of infrastructure, in terms of transportation. And so looking at light and heavy rail and opportunities to really expand our city.
Help us understand what's going on with the school system. Obviously, there's a big state contribution. There's a huge deficit, $100 and some million. They're talking about mass layoffs. What's the math? How did that happen?
A lot of it has to do with population and enrollment.
Yeah.
So we look at the city of Baltimore. What once had 950,000 people, down to 620. We have buildings, school buildings that are only half occupied. Our enrollment has actually gone down, and we know that funding for students, funding for schools is also tied to students. So when we have a lower enrollment, that's an impact. And then obviously looking at and talking to the CEO, recognizing that there were some cost savings, some measures that were implemented several different times, but they were one-time fixes, and we're dealing with some structural issues as well that have to be addressed.
Yes.
Let's grab a phone call. Baltimore County, this is Joseph. Joseph, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. Really, the guys are saying under the Constitution they have rights. They're not American citizens. What rights do they have?
Thank you for the phone call. So on the immigration question, do foreign nationals have constitutional rights?
Well, put it in these terms, right? When someone is in U.S. soil, we expect them to actually be treated with dignity and respect. And that's not the same thing as saying that someone is a citizen, but at the same time, what if someone who is undocumented, for instance, gets into a car accident? Do they have documentation? Is there ways that we can follow up? What about folks who are immigrants who are paying taxes, right, in their through their employment? These are things we have to take into consideration. And just like if there were an American in another country, we'd expect them to be treated with dignity and respect as well.
Let's go out to Baltimore County again. This is John. John, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Joe. This is a really contentious issue, and I'd like to know what the heck happened, as if we didn't know what was going to happen, because we all did, to the slot money that was supposed to be allocated for education.
Great question.
Where was the misfire? Why is it so poor? What happened?
Thank you very much. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought this was just an hour show. I mean, that's a big question, and that's the elephant in the room. Where are the resources that were promoted? Every time we hear something related to the slots or the lottery, it's always with the caveat that this is money for education or for youth, and oftentimes we don't see the results or the fruit of that investment. And so yeah, coming onto the council, that's a priority for us to find out, okay, where are these resources that should have been in the public school system.
Let's take a call from Baltimore City. This is William. William, thank you for calling. Go ahead. William, are you there? Whoops. Let's try that again. Yes, sir, you're on.
Okay, why can't we use a double resource? We have a work release program. We have youth coming out of prison on the work release programs. Why not use them to help rebuild some of their houses, get grants to help rebuild some of the houses, and we have people that can live in the houses, but you also have youth learning a trade.
Thanks for the call.
You know, the caller William actually makes some points that we need to emphasize. I mean, if you look at Baltimore, we have a higher degree of homelessness, we have unemployment, and we have vacant houses. And we also have a large population of returning citizens, folks who are coming back from incarceration who are now looking to rebuild their lives. We have to be creative about how we solve some of our problems. And so that is an opportunity there. One thing I will also look at is even as it relates to young people looking for employment. Right. So youth works and other opportunities. If we have the funding in place and we can think creatively, this can help us solve some of our city's most endemic issues.
No, I mean, William is exactly right. And I think it's, fitting that, both myself and Councilman Bullock, we have a significant portion of the vacant housing, in the city. And so it is an opportunity not only to provide affordable quality housing for residents, but also to have, young people, skilled in trades.
Twitter question on the sanctuary cities. We are not declared a sanctuary city now. What changed? And I think both previous mayor and current mayor were clear in saying that technically, if there even is a technical definition of a sanctuary city, Baltimore City doesn't control the jail.
Right.
The state does.
Right.
So it's sort of up to the state in that respect.
I think that's a legitimate, distinction to make. I know some people look at it as more of a stylistic or a language piece, but having control over the jail and also, police powers also makes a difference.
How do you look at new immigrants in terms of the life of a city? It's kind of the engine and vitality versus, the other, there's a balance here between being compassionate to people and also the security question.
I mean, we have communities, like Canton and Patterson Park community, where the Latino Hispanic community is a significant portion of that community and brings makes it a vibrant, diverse community, and it's kind of ironic. I wouldn't even think of the community without the Latino population. They are so integrated into that community, and so the immigrant population adds to the vitality of our city, and it's something that should be celebrated and not criticized.
Absolutely, and just even follow with Councilman Pinkett. I mean, we are a nation of immigrants, but also a city. I mean, you think about the impact that Italian, Greek, Polish, all types of groups have had in Baltimore City. And so when we start looking at immigration, we have to look at be honest about where people are coming from, what the resistance is, and how we can actually make us a better country and a stronger city as well.
Yeah.
Baltimore City, this is Doug. Doug, thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Thank you guys for being on the air. I've lived in the city for 44 years, and same address in Reservoir Hill. I have questions about the fact that none of the city agencies ever get audited. Secondly, Baltimore school system, they keep on losing money, millions of dollars, and then they change administrators. When are they ever going to get audited? Baltimore County doesn't have this problem. Why is it just Baltimore City? Thank you.
Thank you for the call.
So as a vice chair of the budget committee, we agree. And so we're working with the chair to implement a process by which we can do audits. Doug is absolutely right. We have to make certain that agencies, entities that are controlling taxpayers' dollars are being good stewards of those resources. And the only way we can do that is do audits and thoroughly analyzing their budgets.
Let's go back to the city. This is Alice. Alice, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you for receiving it. I agree with the gentleman was talking about the funds for the casino. Where does the money go for the lottery? We're collecting a lot of money, but where's it being spent? Because it's not being spent in the city, because you're always saying that the schools are going to close, you don't have money for this, you don't have money for that. Then you let these some landlords just walk away and leave all these abandoned houses, and they're not accountable for it. That's why the city is like it is now. People came in and bled it until they couldn't leave no more out of the house, then they just walk away and move out in the county and left the trash in the city. Someone should be held accountable for that. Those houses did stand by themselves. Somebody owned them.
Alice, thank you very much for the phone call.
You know, I know Councilman Pinkett, weighed in on this a little bit earlier, but it is important for us to look at our city agencies, to follow where the dollars are, but also look at how we advertise or how certain issues are propagated. So when people say the money's going to go toward education, following those dollars, I think that's going to be very important for us to do. And then the other piece to think about, we look at economic development in the city. We look at certain development deals and tax breaks, and what does that mean for the city? Because part of the reason why the city is also losing money in terms of education is that on paper, the city looks much more wealthy than it really is. And a lot of that's caught up in some of the development projects, but those are tax breaks, or those are not on the rolls in terms of taxes, and so we're not actually getting the resources there.
Had you been on the council last year, would you have voted up or down on Port Covington?
I would have asked for a few more things from the city's perspective.
I would have done likewise. I mean, I think there would have been a different, not to critique, the previous council. I think there would have been a different line of questioning, related to the development.
Call from Baltimore County. This is Tony. Tony, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question about a Muslim issue. Since obviously not all the Muslims are terrorists, it's obvious, but all the terrorist acts were committed by Muslims. So I have a couple of questions. I agree with Trump's position on extreme vetting of the coming in people from Muslim countries. But we have plenty of Muslims attending the mosques where they get brainwashed and everything. So we already have them here. So what's the problem with extreme vetting of those that are already here, or
so
even,
let
as
me
he suggested,
get you an answer to
them?
that. Thank you for the phone call.
Well, I'll say this as someone who happens to be Christian, but I have friends who are Muslim or Jewish, Hindu, and some who don't have a faith at all. One of the things we recognize even in America is that much of the terrorism that's been propagated in America has largely been by Christians. If you look at somebody like Dylan Roof in South Carolina and the massacre of several black parishioners, and we look at the history throughout this country, so it's not anything that's particular to a certain faith. Then if you look at geographically those countries that were targeted, there are some major holes there. So we're not talking about Saudi Arabia, we're not talking about Afghanistan or Pakistan, and those are places where the larger amount of terrorists have actually come from. And so I think we have to look at it not just from a lens of religion, but also looking at strategically where we're drawing the line, where we're making alliances, and if we're actually doing the things that are going to be most effective. And
to dovetail off Councilman Bullock, one thing, even this recent executive orders doesn't address from a national security profile is that many of the attacks have been domestic, and so we have to deal with that as well.
Let's focus back on the police issue for a second. Well, I want to talk about the consent decree coming up. One of the things when we talk about, if you think about somebody you'd like to have a young family move to your district or your district, first concerns are, public safety and schools, and we have issues in both areas. Is the consent decree by itself going to fix anything?
Well, there's nothing that by itself is going to fix anything. I mean, we have to look at police community relations, economic development, housing, health, nutrition, education, all those things. But to your point, as someone who has a young family and someone else who has a family, we take these issues very seriously. And so that is a challenge for our city. I do know, I look at the consent decree as a step in the right direction. And so both of us represent West Baltimore, and there have been groups like No Boundaries in West Baltimore that have really done some legwork on the ground and talking to people in the community and coming up with a people's consent decree, which is very similar to what the Department of Justice came out with. But we have to make sure that we're listening to people. And again, providing opportunities for there to be constructive interaction with police and communities. The other thing I like to highlight, and this is something that one of our colleagues, Councilman Scott, put forward, and I think it's something that's gotten support from the police commissioners, actually reviving the cadet program. Because if you really want to first hire from Baltimore City and have good relations, what about those 18, 19-year-olds who may want to be police officers? This is a way to groom them to get local hiring, because that's one of the challenges with the city that folks will say there are folks who are policing the city who are not from there, and I think that's a way to bridge that gap.
What do you think of the surveillance equipment that's in use by the city police department? There's the airplane that I don't know if it still flies around, sort of mapping, taking pictures of which cars are moving where, and facial recognition, all of that. Certainly, there's concern among some about civil liberties, but in a city where we're doing more than a murder a day at the moment.
Well, I mean, I think that we should, utilize, technology as it relates to law enforcement, and I think that we should explore those opportunities. But I think that in our use of technology, we should also have community engagement, and so the community plays a vital role in the public safety, and to utilize that technology without involving the public. I think, is I wouldn't quite say irresponsible, but it definitely is not inclusive.
Call from Baltimore City. This is Charonda. Thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Hi. This message and this question is for Leon Pinkett. First of all, Leon, I'd like to say I'm very proud of you for your continual plight in pursuing economic development in impoverished neighborhoods. And my question is, how can we work with the community to build up our young people by offering vocational opportunities, working with the school system so that these young people have something to look forward to? They need some sort of trade. They need something to do, so when they are going to school, they're challenged to be more than just the average Joe. They're coming out with some type of marketable trade or skill that they could have something to do besides turning to drugs and a life of crime, because they need to have something to anchor them in the community where they are contributing to the community and not being a part of the problem in the community. How can we work together?
Thank you very much for the phone call. And that gets back to where you started, economic development.
Absolutely. And we talked a little bit about it related to even the vacant housing issue and how that can be used as an opportunity to use youth in the trades and skills. But we've also, we're fortunate to have witnessed and participated in some good programs that are happening in West Baltimore. For example, in Carver High School, there's a program called PTech, where students are being trained in the technical fields, and there's a partnership with Baltimore City Community College to integrate that. Even also at Baltimore City Community College, there's a program called Year Up. Once again, training young people in tech and innovation. And so there are plenty of partnerships that we should explore. We have to engage the business community. These won't happen just from government alone. We have to have solid public-private partnerships to increase these opportunities. But yeah, I think everything that we do should be focused on giving our youth the opportunity to fully express their potential.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, we just have to keep telling those stories. I think about Vivian T. Thomas, which is a high school in 9th District, and they focus on the Medical Arts Academy. And so you look at where the jobs are being created. So if you talk about, steel production, the jobs are education, medicine, technology. So if we're gearing our young people up to get jobs, I mean, that's where we need to be.
Call from out of the area code here in Washington, D.C. This is Ron. Ron, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I want to ask a question to both of the council persons. Both have mentioned economic development, and I just wanted to know, what is that strategy going to be going forward in terms of creating black wealth in Baltimore City? A lot of economic development has occurred in the city, but no black developers have benefited from it in terms of being able to create revenue and create jobs. So what is the strategy going to be to make sure that we create some wealth in Baltimore City in black communities that have been underserved for so many years with lack of economic development?
Thank you for the phone call.
One thing that I think is important, I mean, we have a lot of large-scale developers, but we have to also give opportunities to small and medium-sized developers, and also trying to provide opportunities for local developers to come about. And so small and minority women-owned businesses, those have to also be part of this mix. And I look forward to working with some in the lending community to also push them in that direction, because part of the issue sometimes is having the funds to do this. We have community development corporations that are neighborhood-based that just need a little bit of a shot in the arm to participate in this process.
And if I can add, we do have goals as relate to MBE, WBE, but we have to make certain that we're really achieving those goals. And my concern is that we're achieving those goals in all of the trades, so that we're not just achieving the goals in demolition. or infrastructure work, but we're achieving the goals, whether it be architecture or other services, and which means that we have to build the capacity of our small, and even medium-sized minority businesses.
Let's squeeze in one more phone call from Baltimore. This is William. William, thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm trying to understand something. Baltimore City has cameras all over the city. Now, you said having the police interact with the community. Well, when the community sees that the police is paying more attention to the cameras when stuff happened down in Fells Point and whatnot than the stuff that happened in the city, when they want help, they always helping down. You can go down Fells Point, watch the news, you'll see it. They get the cameras, get the pictures, they got the criminal. Stuff happening in the city, the cameras is like obsolete. They don't work.
Sir, we're short on time. Let me get you an answer.
Not necessarily going to argue with the caller. I will say this. The cameras are only good if somebody's manning those cameras and actually following what's happening and then getting on the street. Part of the reason why Councilman Pinkett and I ran for office and why we've been elected is because we want to fight for our communities. And so we recognize the services and resources need to come to West Baltimore. That's part of our battle.
In a second, what's the most important decision coming up in the council?
Oh, gosh. Well, I hear that there might be an issue related to minimum wage coming.
Okay. Very good. Gentlemen, I appreciate you stopping by.
My pleasure.
Councilman John Bullock, Councilman Leon Pinkett, congratulations on the election as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us for Direct Connection. We're back Thursday at this time with Your Money and Business. For all of us at MPT, thanks for watching and have a good night.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.